He was a preacher. She was a secret no one was supposed to find. In the silence of 1873 Texas, a cry from a rotting barn would uncover a truth so brutal, it carved itself into flesh. This isn't a story about saving souls. It's about what happens when you choose to stay, while the whole world looks away. Sometimes salvation doesn't come from a church bell, but from a scream in the dust. The sun hung low, a molten coin burning in the sky. Texas, 1873. The kind of heat that cracks the earth and the soul alike. Somewhere in that silence, a sound broke free. Faint. Human. A cry, raw, broken, carried on the wind like a dying prayer. Eli Matt stopped walking. His boots, coated in ochre dust, froze mid-step. For a long moment he listened. Again. That cry. No animal made that sound. It was pain. Human pain. Eli turned. Not toward the whitewashed chapel that bore his name. He walked the other way. Toward the wild. Toward the sound. Toward the place even drifters refused to sleep. An old barn loomed ahead. Weather-beaten. Half collapsed. Locals said it was cursed. Haunted by cowboys who died bad. Eli wasn't sure ghosts were the problem anymore. He reached the door. Wood splintered and groaned under his hand. The air inside hot, still, and foul. He stepped into the dark. Dust motes spun in the sunbeams, dancing like ash. Then, a voice. Weak. Fragile. Close. Please, don't lift my skirt. Eli's heart punched his ribs. He followed the voice. And there in the shadows he found her. A woman. Bruised. Bound. Bleeding. Her blue dress soaked through with blood. His hands shook. He knelt beside her. She was barely conscious. Her eyes flickered. He reached down. Gently lifted the fabric. Etched in red, torn through her thigh, were 4 brutal words. She saw too much. He preached fire and brimstone. But today he felt only ash. Once Eli Matz filled pews with the sound of thunder. Sermons laced with scripture and certainty. The kind that made men cry and women kneel. But lately, his words had gone dry. His pulpit felt more like a cage. And the God he served, silent. Now he stood over a broken woman, her body a map of violence. And no sermon could explain what he saw. She lay in the straw, breath shallow. Blood soaked her dress. The ropes at her wrists had bitten deep. Eli worked in silence, tearing cloth into bandages, pouring water from his canteen. His hands trembled as he pressed into the wound. Not from the blood, but from the weight of it all. She didn't scream, didn't cry, just stared past him. Eyes open, soul locked away. And Cole. That was her name, scrawled on a letter in her boot. The only thing she had left. Her pain was raw. But her silence, louder. Eli looked down at her, lost in thought. Had God abandoned this place? Or had Eli simply stopped looking? He thought of his church. Of the altar. Of the lies he told himself every Sunday. He pressed a fresh bandage to her leg. The bleeding slowed. Still she didn't speak. Until her voice cracked through the quiet, dry as dust. They branded me, so I'd never forget. Some scars tell stories. Hers screamed them. The next morning, the light broke across the barn like a blade. Eli sat beside her, quiet. Still tending. Still trying. The stink of blood lingered, refusing to fade. As he helped her sit, her dress slipped from one shoulder. And there it was. A burn. Sure. Brutal. The letters were unmistakable, seared into flesh. Eli froze. Who did this to you? He asked, voice tight. Her eyes fluttered open. She hesitated, then answered. Mason Graves. The name hit like a hammer. Everyone in the region knew it. A land baron. Silver smile. Black heart. Owned half the county and feared for the rest. She coughed, pain curling her body. Then whispered. He's been stealing deeds. Faking deaths. Forging papers. He took Abernathy's ranch. Said it was suicide. But I heard them laugh. Eli's breath caught. She wasn't some unfortunate soul. She was a witness. A risk. A woman who saw what no one was supposed to. Anth's silence hadn't come from fear alone. It was strategy. Survival. They didn't mean to kill her fast. They meant to leave her alive, just enough to forget. But she hadn't. She looked at him now, bloody, bruised, barely upright, and still dangerous. She leaned closer, her voice a rasp. They're not done with me yet. You can't outrun the truth, but you can make it bleed. Eli stood at the basin, bloodied cloth in hand. His collar, white, cracked with sweat, rested on the table beside him. He looked at it one last time. Then he tore it in half. No more sermons. No more lies. Just truth and steel. He reached beneath the bed, pulled out his father's rifle, checked the chamber. Full. On the table, a whetstone waited. He dragged the hunting knife across it slowly. Once. Twice. The sound, sharp, deliberate, cut the silence like a warning. In the corner, Aunt stirred. Her wounds were healing inch by inch. She no longer winced when she moved. She was walking again, slow but steady. Eli caught her watching him. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Their escape had to happen soon. They would head west into the wild where names meant nothing. But when Eli stepped outside to check the trail, something stopped him cold. Hoof prints. Fresh. 3 sets. They weren't coming. They were already here. He backed into the cabin, voice low. They found us. Before Aunt could answer, a shout tore through the still air. From the treeline. Rough. Familiar. Aunt Cole. We know you're in there. When evil rides to your door, there's no time to pray. The cabin door creaked open. Eli stepped out, rifle in hand, heart steady. 3 riders sat mounted in the clearing. One of them grinned. Clyde. He raised his pistol. Crack. The shot exploded in the dust. Just inches from Eli's boot. A warning. But not a second one. Eli didn't hesitate. Boom. The rifle kicked against his shoulder. Clyde's chest opened like a busted melon. He hit the ground hard, dead before the dust settled. The second man spurred his horse. Tried circling around. But he never made it to the rear door. Eth was waiting. Silent. Barefoot in the dry grass. Knife in hand. She moved like a shadow. By the time dismounted, she was already behind him. The blade slipped into his neck. Quick. Precise. He dropped, gurgling, then still. Eli heard nothing. He just knew. One left. The last man dismounted. Massive. Snarling. He tossed his gun to the ground. No bullets. Just fists. He charged. Roaring like a beast. Mason wants his pound of flesh. Eli dropped the good book. He picked up something heavier. The man came at him like a freight wagon. All weight. No warning. Eli barely dodged the first swing. The second caught his ribs, knocking the breath from his lungs. They crashed into the dirt, fists flying, dust choking the space between them. This wasn't a fight. It was survival. Eli grunted as a blow split his lip. His hands clawed for leverage. For something, anything, to hold. Then, his fingers found the man's head. With a roar, Eli twisted. Snap. The neck cracked sideways. The man twitched once. Then nothing. Silence fell like a curtain. No birds. No wind. Only dust and death. Eli stood, chest heaving. His hands, slick with blood, trembled. This wasn't the man who gave sermons. This was someone else. Behind him, Aunt stepped forward. No surprise in her eyes. Only knowing. She knelt beside the body, wiped her blade clean. Then spoke. They wanted to break me, she said quietly. But I remembered everything. Eli turned to her. Everything? She looked up at him. Face pale. Eyes clear. And I know where the rest of the bodies are. Sometimes justice wears a preacher's boots and digs graves. The ground was dry. Art. Unwilling. But they dug anyway. 3 shallow graves side by side. Clyde. The third one, nameless now. Eli's shovel hit stone, then bone. Every scoop of dirt was a prayer he didn't say. Every thud, a silent curse. Beside him, Aunt worked without flinching. Hands blistered. Face streaked with ash. She didn't cry, not at first. They stripped the dead. Piled the bloodied clothes. Set them ablaze. The fire crackled like bones snapping. Smoke curled into the sky. Aunt stood back, eyes on the flames. And then, her shoulders trembled. Not from fear, but release. Tears fell. Quiet. Private. Freedom has its own weight. Eli didn't speak. He only looked past the trees. Toward the church steeple rising in the distance. Once a symbol of calling. Now just a hollow spike of wood. He didn't miss it. He didn't mourn it. Behind him, the fire died. Aunt wiped her face, then said, calm and clear. We're not safe. Not yet. They didn't run. They walked away, deliberate and unchained. The cabin was still. Inside, Eli laid the Bible on the table. Didn't open it. Didn't pray. Just let it go. He packed only what mattered. The rifle. A knife. Dried meat. Matches. 2 blankets. No keepsakes. No sentiment. Aunt moved with the same clarity. She paused at the graves. 3 fresh mounds beneath the pines. No markers. No names. Just silence. Her gaze lifted. to the open land ahead. All dust and distance. They didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. Only the sound of boots on dry earth. One step. Then another. They left the cabin behind. Left the blood. The pain. The past. The road was red and wide. A ribbon of heat curling into the unknown. And still, they walked like they'd been born for it. Not fugitives. Survivors. Then, on a distant hill, a silhouette appeared. A lone rider. Still. Watching. No badge. No mercy. Just the weight of a name behind him. Graves. They weren't finished. Not yet. She kept one thing. A page that could burn an empire. They camped that night beneath a crooked tree. No fire. No light. Just the stars, and the sound of crickets too afraid to sing. Eli leaned against his pack, rifle across his knees. Anth sat across from him, quiet, until she reached into her coat. From the lining she pulled a worn leather book. Edges torn. Pages stiff with age. Eli frowned. What is that? She handed it to him without a word. Inside columns. Numbers. Names. Deeds. Signatures. Blood traded for land. Mason Graves' ledger. The truth. In ink. Eli flipped through it, breath shallow. The names weren't just property. They were families. Lives. Buried stories. You had this the whole time? Anth nodded. He killed to protect it. He branded me to erase it. Eli stared at the pages. This wasn't just justice. It was leverage. Power. Enough to tear Graves down from the inside out. But it would come at a price. A big one. Anth's voice cut the dark. We could disappear. Be safe. She looked at him then. Direct. Steady. Unafraid. Or we go back. Some truths are heavy. Some set the world on fire. The town slept. Shutters closed. Streets empty. Not even the dogs dared bark. Eli and Anth moved like shadows. No words. Just purpose. They reached the sheriff's office near midnight. Eli slipped the ledger through the bars of the locked door. It hit the floor with a soft thud. In the morning someone would read it. Someone would know. But justice? That was already burning. They lit the match from the edge of Mason Graves' estate. Dry wood. Oil from the stables. Old timber fed the fire like it had waited for this day. Flames rose high into the black sky. Swallowing walls, windows, the legacy of a man who thought he owned everything. They didn't stay to watch it fall. They didn't need to. Eli and Anth rode before dawn. Backs to the flames. Faces to the wide, open land. Not fugitives. Not heroes. Just two souls who refused to stay silent. The road ahead was uncertain. But this time it was theirs. No graves to dig. No names to carry. No lies left to tell. They didn't leave justice behind. They left it buried, under ash, bone, and silence.